Hello and welcome to WTFGamersCast, the official podcast of WTFGamersOnly. I'm Marissa, and today I am with Jarrell, Toby, Grayson, and Brandon, and we're going to be talking about game series and where do they go from here. Specifically, we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda, Persona, Pokemon, and Final Fantasy. So, whoever wants to kick off the Zelda topic, probably Brandon, Toby, or Grayson, go for it.
So I'll take it. So, so Breath of the Wild, I think for all of us that have played it, can probably agree it is probably, objectively anyway, the best Legend of Zelda game that Nintendo has put out. Like it's crazy just how much improvements they have, done to the formula and all that. And that just, of course, begs the question, like, where could they possibly go next with the series, Because when you think about what happened with Breath of the Wild, like how that game was made, it's very clear that aspects of other Zelda games were kind of like put into it. Like it has the big open world map that the original Legend of Zelda had. It has the multitude of side quests that Zelda games are known for. Actually, on a personal note, Majora's Mask is my personal favorite Legend of Zelda title, and I noticed there's a lot of similarities in its design. Mainly the emphasis on doing the side quests to get the most out of your game. The fact that there's 4 main dungeons before you get to your final boss.
Yeah, I picked up on the dungeons thing. That's definitely a link.
Yeah, for sure. And then just so many other like similarities, like you can see in the map itself. I noticed, like, I was just looking at the map and I saw like the ranch ruins, and I haven't been there yet, but I looked on the overhead map. That looks like the remains of Lon Lon Ranch, and I shuddered for a second, like, oh.
Yeah. There's so many nods in the flipping areas to everything past Zelda.
There really
people
is.
Have found like old structures that look like places in Skyward Sword, places in Ocarina of Time, and things, and it's really cool to see that. I saw this tweet the other day, and this is really cool. This is probably like the first game or first Zelda game where like people are bragging about not being like far into the game, but having lots of hours put in. So people are like, "Oh, you finished the game? I'm only 20. I'm 60 hours in, and I only have 20 shrines done." And people are like, "Oh, you're so lucky." Like, like people are like, I'm telling people I beat Ganon, and they're like, "Oh, really? Like you finished your beat Ganon?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry."
Sorry, I beat the game.
Sorry, please forgive me.
Game, jeez.
Yeah, beat
I didn't, like people look at the game like I didn't want this off my backlog.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's like if you try and explain though, it's weird to try and explain how different this Zelda is compared. If someone who hasn't played a Zelda game then jumps into Breath of the Wild, it's like the perfect but unperfect game to jump into because it's completely away from the normal Zelda. Like anyone who's got into it now would automatically just expect that to continue. So
yeah, and
because it's got such a high level now. Like the standard of that game is just like off the charts. It's kept me going. Oh, I'm still going now. I'm still getting all the shrines and stuff.
Oh,
but yes, I only thought about it the other day. I was thinking, like, where are they going to go now? Because this has got such a high bar. I don't know. They're going to either have to like restructure the whole formula or keep the same formula and obviously change bits.
But yeah, that was my thought too on it. Like as far as like going forward. First of all, there's no possible way that a new Zelda game of this quality would come out anytime soon. Like this is to come anywhere near past where this game is would take at least another we're in 2017 now. 2020 would be like the earliest I'd say, but that might even be too early. But
I'd say like 5 or 6 years at least.
Right, considering how long it took for this one to come out. And you're absolutely right, Toby. For them to do another game like this, they need to reinvent themselves again. Like, everything about this game is, like, taking what worked and also reinventing it in a new way. They would have to just do that again in, like, another way. And I don't know how they would quite go about doing that. Like, it'd be a I don't know if the solution is make the world even bigger or if maybe keep it around the same size, but the funny thing about this is it's just like an open world game, and a lot of people were worried that this is Nintendo's like first attempt at an open world game, and they thought they were going to be making the same mistakes that people had already figured out. Where in reality, they've kind of like surpassed a lot of open world games and just like
they definitely I feel like they definitely beat games like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and this open world like that.
The difference between Zelda and Assassin's Creed, I actually want to go up the towers.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you see, like, you start up Zelda, and you see the map, and it's like there's no one telling you where to go. There's not like you don't go up a tower and 50 billion dots come up telling you like there's 50 different side missions. You make your own missions. Like you see something in the distance and you put a waypoint on your own map. Making your own paths, making your own destinations, and that's what's really cool. Because sometimes Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and stuff, it gets really overwhelming because you see 30 different side missions and little objectives and feathers and all that crap. But this game, it's like you can literally do whatever you want. No one's pushing you in any direction, and it's amazing.
I do.
You want to fit? Go ahead, Joe.
I do agree with that. I am that person who hasn't played a Zelda game, and Breath of the Wild is their first game, like Toby was talking about. That's me. And I may not be the best person to talk about this because I have a not so great history with Zelda, but I will say that this game has blown my mind for what it's capable of doing as opposed to how it is as a game. So I am also wondering, like, okay, what more could you do after this? Because for me, some of the stuff that I love, I don't even care about the exploration that much. That's cool. But I'm totally into dressing Link up into all the different outfits and seeing how they affect the weather.
Yeah.
Like, I still think one of the coolest things is that I start freezing when I go into the mountains if I'm not wearing the right outfit.
Yeah, the right gear.
It's too hot and I've got to take this shirt off, or I'm finding all these items that I can cook, and they will all turn into so many different, recipes and ingredients, and there's so many options. I can ride this horse over here, I'm running from that thing over there. I think that's great. I personally think it is a little overwhelming. I wish there was, I guess I wish there was more of less of choose whatever you want to do, because it's really just like, hey, here are your 4 main missions, but honestly, who gives a fuck? Do what you want. That's the whole game. I prefer linearity, so for me it's not the easiest, but the mechanics behind it, the fact that you can climb onto any and everything in this world, like, you can't regress from that. You can't give me the mechanics that you've given me with the weather and the cooking and the recipes and the combat, which is actually fun, and then not do something more for the next title. So I'm confused as to what you guys think they're going to do next as well.
It's a very tough one. And even with what Grayson was saying about the exploration kind of not holding your hand, something I read quite early on when I started playing was to turn off the map and turn off the weather conditions, turn off all the hub basically and turn it to like pro mode, which I thought at the beginning, I was like, don't really want to do that because I don't know where I'm going, because I kind of like having the mini map. But then I actually did it, and it was like it actually made it 10 times better, because you just come across everything that you don't even know it's going to be there because you're not looking at the map, and like everything's more of a surprise. So they've got like such a good balance of having the exploration open worldness, but then if you don't want to do that, you can just literally do the main story, get some memories, and go to the end.
Yeah.
So how long do you guys think this game is supposed to take? Like, in general, for a new person like me, like, how long should I spend on Zelda? And do you guys think that's something that they should consider when making the next open world Zelda title?
No, not really. I mean, I think if you were literally just doing the bulk of the thing, it'd probably take like 10 hours or so
to beat the story.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah,
maybe
because of course there's that crazy speed run stuff where you're just going straight for the final boss. That's not the average person at all, and absolutely don't do that. But just to go to the 4 places where the 4 dungeons are, and just go to complete all 4. Like, if you're just beelining for the dungeons so you can, like, get your story. 10 hours seems about right.
The dungeons are funny in this Zelda, though, I must say. The dungeons are probably my least favourite, which is weird, because they're done strangely. They're not really like dungeons. They're more like puzzles, giant puzzles. And with the whole rotating, being able to manipulate the actual dungeons themselves, then they've made them smaller, but they've made the rest of the world bigger, which is weird.
Well, that's an easy improvement right there. If you were to make let's just say for our sake argument, or Breath of the Wild 2, and just like put more dungeons or just made them feel like more like traditional dungeons, that's a big improvement right there. Because then it's literally appeasing both fan bases. Because I've heard that a bit myself. Like, everyone's praising like all the open world stuff, but a lot of people are like, the dungeons just seem to have suffered a bit as a result.
Yeah, I think they have a little bit. They definitely. I find myself doing them, but I'm like, right, I need to do this so I can get my Divine Beast and just kind of get through it. But the dungeons are my least enjoyable, although I do love all the shrines.
All right, guys, so where do you think Zelda can go from here?
That's a tough one, but kind of what I was saying earlier about like they would just like really need to reinvent it a little bit more. I think this actually I have an idea, just an idea. Not saying this is where they'll go, and maybe they shouldn't, but this Zelda was definitely more focused on exploring the world around you and just kind of like seeing as much as you possibly can. And then if you wanted to go for the objective, you could, or if not, you could just explore the world. That definitely fits more along the sides of titles like I mentioned before, like Majora's Mask and other Zelda games that had emphasis on side quests. Maybe they could go for just a big world where you're just kind of like going more an Ocarina of Time route, if that makes any sense. That's the only thing I could think of. Like where there are like little paths you could go along the side, but maybe it's a little more focused on like going one path, kind of like in the traditional way. I don't know. When I think about how much they changed the formula for this game, all I can really think of now is them going forward to like maybe more traditional in the best possible way is where I think they would possibly go next.
Yeah. All I know is that they can't go back to the hand holding anymore.
Yeah,
they can't.
Absolutely not.
That whole
No.
2-3 hour tutorial at the beginning of the game telling you what everything is, telling you what every item does, like in Skyward Sword. They're definitely going to stay to this open world feeling, but I think the towers and the shrines and stuff, I feel like they might not even do that again. Like the next game is just going to be open world, but have a different sort of mechanic to explore and stuff. Like I was thinking of, I don't know why this came to my mind, but I was thinking of like a world that's like destroyed and like covered in darkness, and you have to like bring each section of the world back to light by like finding something, and then you uncover like how the actual world looks. I don't know, just something like that. Anything different from the shrines and towers.
Yeah, that's very Okami-esque.
Yeah, kind of. Like you're uncovering the world piece by piece, without the shrines and the towers and stuff like that. And I feel like they could even do it faster than other games other Zelda games they developed, because they already have like maybe they already have the framework for it, like what they did with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. They used the same resources and stuff, and they made Majora's Mask like 2 years later or 3 years later.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll do the same thing with this game, just make it like not an expansion, but it's a whole different sort of story in the same world, like 2 or 3 years later on the Switch, which would be really cool to see. But
I think the title of this Zelda kind of it gave birth to the whole open worldness, because it's called Breath of the Wild. Like it's the clue is in the name. And then I think, like you said, they could use the same structure.
Yeah, but there's not even a musical instrument in the title, or like in the game.
No, there is no musical instrument. There's so many non-Zelda things in this one.
Yeah,
but I think it was a good change. It's definitely a change that was needed.
Yeah, definitely.
If they can't, they either need to completely reinvent again, but they usually do that anyway, like with the whole look of the games, but the actual gameplay usually stays the same. This is obviously the first one where they've completely flipped it on its head. But it's obviously paid off well, so why would they go backwards? Like the only thing they can do is to create a similar open world style gameplay, but in a completely new environment. That's what I was thinking. And just create different versions of shrines, and I would say have more dungeons, but less dungeons based on the ones that were like Breath of the Wild. Only on my personal experience. Because they were my least favourite.
Sorry. I would like to see more structure in the next one. This is just personally. I'd like to see more focus on the story in the next one. And, of course, keeping everything that's in this one, because I think this one's wonderful. But more focus on story and more reason to complete the game. Because right now I feel that it's kind of like...
Yeah,
you could go do this, but you don't really want to. So give me a reason to want to finish it. That's what I want to see.
They could also hire some voice actors that aren't American, that are just trying to make English people sound posh, i.e. Zelda. Because we haven't mentioned voice acting, but Zelda's voice is probably one of the worst ones in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got used to it, but it's done.
Yeah, I got used to it as well, but then the more I heard it, like the more memories and things I was unlocking, I was just thinking, why are you a really posh English woman? What is this? I don't understand. Like,
please hire better voice actors for
yeah,
Toby.
please hire better, but everyone else was fine. I literally loved everyone else, and like, it was just Zelda's was a bit, not how it sounded. She sounded like a mixture of a posh English person, but also a granny. It didn't suit her face at all. Like, actually, it'd be quite interesting to hear all the other different the different areas for the different countries,
the different languages.
Yeah, different languages.
Depends on your taste. All right, guys, that's enough of Legend of Zelda for a little bit. Let's talk about what I'm most excited for, Persona. So, Jarrell, I want you to start it, though.
Yes!
I want you to start.
I can totally do that. I'm so excited. I'm in love with everything Persona 5 right now. There's nothing they can do better. Everything is perfect. I don't want them to say... No, I'm just kidding. It's really, really great. There's a lot of really, really great things. I'm writing a review about it, and I do have some complaints, but all I can think of right now is improvements from Persona 4 onto Persona 5. So I don't even know where they could go with Persona 6 if they did one, because everything so far has been an improvement on top of what was a problem, which includes everyone said that Persona 4 had a really slow start. Persona 5, you start the game, you're in the action. That's fixed. Persona 4 had a lot of restrictions based on timing. Persona 5, you can now do things in the evening, something you couldn't do in Persona 4. You've got more opportunities. The social links that you create in Persona 5 mean more than they do in Persona 4. They actually affect your combat much more. The bonuses that you can get from Confidants in Persona 5 are way better than anything you could have gotten in Persona 4. Everything in Persona 5 is already an improvement on Persona 4. So I honestly, I don't even know. I don't know where they could go from this. It's a damn near perfect JRPG. I guess they could possibly change up some of... No, it's perfect. Never mind. What do you think, Marissa?
I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They're going to starve us again.
Yes.
They're going to wait another 6 to 8 years before they put another one out. So that way, by the time Persona 6 comes out, we're like, oh my God, nothing in the world could have ever been better. This is the greatest thing that's ever existed. No, like you said, I still have some minor complaints. They are extremely minor. I think one of the things that infuriates me the most is that so much of the game is building up your skills just as it is your social links. But you can't read in your room, which makes absolutely no sense to me. You have a sofa, you have a bed you could sit on, but no, every time I go to sit on the sofa, Morgana just starts yelling at me about how there's other things we could be doing right now. But I mean, it's really good. The characters have always been beautiful throughout the Persona series. There hasn't really been any, yes, there's some that I may not like, but it doesn't mean that they're a bad character. It's just that I don't personally like them. So I think the writing is excellent. I think the aesthetic of it is so amazing, especially since you went from this like super colorful, bright world of Persona 4 back into a more gritty world that we're more used to seeing in Persona 3. We've kind of gone back to that feeling a little bit, and I do actually like that we've gone a little bit darker again with the story, that it's not quite as, not that Persona 4 was lighthearted or anything like that, but in comparison, I like that we've gotten a little bit darker again, that we're talking about more serious things. So yeah, I think just like you were saying, so much of Persona 5 has been an immediate improvement. Even though Persona 4 was already great, they found a way to improve upon it and make Persona 5.
Exactly.
So yeah, I really don't know, other than starving us out, where they're going to go from here, because it's great. And I think any story they bring forward in the world of Persona is going to continue to be great. Like, I've never been disappointed yet, and I don't think I will be.
So one of the things I think they need to continue doing, because I can't think of anything they haven't done that I like. There's nothing they can do to me that's going to be any better. But one thing they can continue doing that I think they do really well in Persona 5 that they did in Persona 4, but not so well, was the thing that you brought up, the entire aesthetic of the game, because the story is darker, but the visuals tie in so well with this story. Those stark reds and blacks and whites and everything that is so stylish. It goes so well with exactly what's happening in the story at every point. The music, it fits so precisely into every single scene. Even the voice acting. I know some people were concerned about the English voice acting. I don't skip through anything. I love hearing them.
It's amazing.
They sound so great. Even the ones that annoy me, I listen to them annoy me because I still like them. Even though I hate them, I still like them. And as long as that entire package continues, I think it'll be a great title.
And one of the things that I really like, too, is some of the changes made to the palace design. In Persona 4, it was pretty much, I mean, there was plenty of twists and turns, and you still had to go explore before you found your way through the palaces. But now there's so many different opportunities to even scale up the sides of structures inside of the game, which is something we haven't seen before. You straying off of this pretty much rail just with a couple of forks in the road on occasion. But it's really the first time in Persona 4, I would fight everyone I came across. But now I've approached it with more strategy. So I think even the palace design has improved in a way that I didn't think they could improve on Persona 4. I had no problems with it in Persona 4 until 5 came out and showed me, hey, we can actually do this better than we did. So we're going to do that.
Yeah, I think Persona 5 is literally the title that is... we're giving you things you didn't even know you wanted until you got them. One of the things that I hope continues for Persona 6, or one thing that that I'm not sure how they could improve on for another Persona game, is the combat system. I think Persona 5 is the first time, and probably the only time, we will see a turn-based JRPG in this style of combat. The buttons are mapped to different abilities for a turn-based game, so it's not just, hey, here's your menu, scroll through, you want to do this attack, scroll through, choose that attack, click it. It's literally, alright, well, the up arrow brings your gun out so you can shoot them. The triangle button calls your persona so you can use one of your persona's abilities. The X button is the actual attack, the circle button is to dodge. The fact that each of the buttons, each of the commands is mapped to a button makes it a very unique and intuitive style of turn-based combat, one that I've personally never seen before. And one of my biggest complaints was, how can another Final Fantasy game be turn-based but be as innovative as Persona 5? But we'll get to that in a minute. But that is something I have no idea how they could improve on. It's kind of like, when we were talking about Zelda, here is like the perfect open world formula. How do you do any better than that? To me, this turn-based system is the perfect way to keep it intuitive and interactive, as opposed to just scrolling through whatever ability you want to do. How do you get any better from that? I have no idea.
Well, and it's not even just the combat itself, but it looks so smooth, and it really helps immerse you into the game, because you see the characters go through the thought process. Especially with me, I know that I call my personas so often and then be like, well, no, I think I'm just going to do a normal attack. I don't want to waste any of my special points.
Yeah.
And so you see them go through that and even kind of mention, this is what I'll do. Oh, never mind.
Yes.
So it just feels so... It just feels so good. It looks good. Everything about it is good. There's nothing I can point out and be like, well, if they did this instead. No, it's amazing and perfect, and I don't want the fighting style to ever change. I wish all games felt this amazing when you were fighting against other characters. It's one of my favorites.
It's so true. the attention to detail is something they can't go back on for another game.
Mm-hmm. Even in the UI, in the menu, if you click on equip and it brings up your weapons, you have your character actually pull out weapons as you're looking through them. I mean, it just looks so good.
It really does. I feel like we can go on forever about how beautiful it is.
If you guys had to pick your one favorite thing from the game, what would it be?
Oh God!
Like, what's the best thing you like about it? Like, what makes you want to go back and play it?
For me,
yeah,
Morgana. Morgana is kind of he's how you get introduced into the game. So for Persona 4, you had Teddy, and Teddy knows a lot about the world, but he holds your hand a lot of the time, and you can't use him for a while until you get into the game further. Morgana instantly is like, all right, I've been doing this for a while. I'm going to tell you how it works, and I'm going to help you fight. So that way, when you do kind of get thrown into fighting for the first time, you aren't completely alone in it. So I think that having Morgana as your introduction to the fighting system, to the metaverse, which is the universe that you fight in, it's so much improved, and I feel like it gets you so well trained in how to fight before you even start your first battle. So Morgana is probably my favorite way that they have improved it, just by taking out a character who can kind of explain what's going on but doesn't really know what's happening, whereas Morgana knows what's happening.
Teddy.
Yeah, like Teddy. And Morgana knows what's happening and explains everything to you very well. So I think the way that they have you ease into the battle system is so much smoother and so much more improved from Persona 4.
So the one thing that keeps me coming back when I stop playing, it has to be the story of Persona 5. I love the combat. I love so much of it, but the one thing that I always come back to is just to see what happens next. Every time I play, even the combat's great. I love being in dungeons, but I do get to a point where I'm like, I want to finish this dungeon just to see what happens next. Because this story throws you into the middle of it, and it does not stop. It literally is a roller coaster that gets better and better, well, in turn, worse for the characters. But for us, it gets better and better as it goes. I have not been this engrossed in a story for a video game in so long, probably since Tomb Raider, which was one of my favorite stories. But this one, it doesn't stop. I literally play this game just to see what's going to happen next. Not even for how amazing it looks, not for the combat, not for any of that, which is all great. I'm playing it just because, holy shit, what's going to happen next? And then I'm texting, hey guys, are you on this date yet? Did you see what the fuck just happened? Because it's crazy. That is our general chat right now. It's like, oh my god, did you get to 4:15? Did you get to 5:19?
Did you get to May 13?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, did you get to the thing?
I'll tell you something when you get to 5:20. Just get there.
And I think that
stop playing.
That is such a testament to how amazing the story is. The fact that that's the thing that, like, right now my phone goes off like, all right, what day are you on? And I already know it's Persona. And that's just that's a universal thing that keeps bringing me and I think a lot of more people back, because it could be a great game. It could introduce you really easily to combat. It could do everything that it did with the aesthetics. But if the story wasn't as good, we wouldn't want to play as much. We would just want to sit in dungeons all day and not give a shit. But that's not the case. It's a full package, and I have no complaints. I'm just flustered as to what the fuck they're going to do next.
Yeah. How I'm going to spend my days.
Yes. The hardest part is, do I read today? I don't know.
Do I hang out with my friends? Which friend do I hang out with?
The one thing that brings me back is the story, for sure.
Cool.
But since I did bring up Final Fantasy 15, let's talk about the Final Fantasy series now. Where can it go from where it left off?
Well, Final Fantasy 15, like, because of the backlash they got for Final Fantasy 13 being all linear and pretty much straightforward, they decided to just get rid of that crap entirely. It's not crap, I love 13. But to get rid of that entirely and go to 15, which is like an open world, kind of linear, not, they have a story you can follow, but you can kind of do side quests at your own pace. Side quests weren't too great, but they're okay. But for the next game, I don't know. They can pretty much go anywhere because Final Fantasy has been turn-based. There's been combat like 15, combat like 12. So, I mean, they'll probably go 3D again just because from the success of 15. But, I mean, I have no idea.
You know what's funny, too, about what you said a second ago, Grayson? Yeah. I heard from a lot of people, and you can verify this because you finished the game. When you get close to the end, the game gets a bit linear, no?
Yeah, there's this one chapter specifically. I think it's chapter 13. They actually made a patch for it recently just to fix the issues that people have had with the game, that chapter. But the game gets really, really linear in this one chapter for some reason, and it gets really strange. Like the gameplay itself changes entirely, and it really, really sucks. Just for one chapter, though. But yeah, towards the end, it gets really strange, and it seems like the game was made one way in the beginning of development, but it got closer to the end of it. It was like, okay, we need to rush this along. Let's just do this.
That makes me think of two things. The first thing that comes to mind when you say that is I've heard some people talk about that chapter as well, and they said, "Wow, this is all Final Fantasy versus 13 at this point." Because like you said, it felt like a different game. So
yeah, because Final Fantasy versus 13 was in development for so long, and then they switched it to 15.
And it became 15. Yeah.
So I feel like they still kept elements of that game to this one. I think those parts of the 15 were from the old game that they were working on before.
For sure.
That had the same style as Final Fantasy 13, that linear, just walking straight through corridors and whatnot.
Well, in their defense, they supposedly have fixed that chapter with the update.
Right.
But to speak on where they can go from Final Fantasy 15, I'm actually a little disappointed because after talking about how much I love Persona 5 and playing Persona 5, I was hoping that Final Fantasy 7, the remake, could be something more like Persona 5 combat-wise. I actually miss turn-based Final Fantasies. The last one I got was World of Final Fantasy, which I loved. I thought it was great. But I have a feeling that could be the last numbered Final Fantasy game that's not a remake that doesn't have some form of turn-based combat. And I was all for, Kingdom Hearts style, Final Fantasy 15 style button mashing combat, because I heard the combat for 15 was great. But
that was my favorite part.
After playing Persona 5, I don't see why we couldn't have the remake for 7 be like Persona 5 is. Something that is intuitive, that's not boring, that's brand new, but is still the JRPG style turn-based combat. And even if it's just not that, someone said, well, why can't we have both? Why can't we have one style of combat for those who like Final Fantasy 15, and then, the traditional turn-based combat for others? But if there's anything that I hope that Final Fantasy does look at, it is Persona 5. I think I've heard a lot of complaints about the story for Final Fantasy 15. Either people love it or they think it's a load of shit. It's always one or the other. It's never like a in between. Either you love it or you hate it.
I guess that's just true.
So I'm looking at that. I think they can focus on story because, like I said, Persona 5 story pulls me in all the time. I think they can focus on combat. We obviously don't know how similar the remake of 7's combat is going to be to Final Fantasy 15. But with the success of Final Fantasy 15, I'm sure it's going to be
at least the gameplay they showed from 7, it looks like... It even looks like more Kingdom Hearts in Final Fantasy 15.
Exactly.
You have Cloud.
That's what it looks like.
Cloud fighting, hitting enemies in the air and doing combos and things like that.
Yeah.
And it seems like pretty much exactly what Final Fantasy 15 is. If not a bit more than like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, and that's what I'm afraid of. So
why are you afraid? Do you want more turn-based games? Is what you're saying?
It's not that I want more turn-based games. It's that I want more innovation. for the turn-based titles.
Something different.
Yeah. I've done Final Fantasy 15. I'm gonna do Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I'm gonna do Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm doing Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 over again. So what's next, you know? Is it more of, hey, here's some more Kingdom Hearts combat? Or is it, hey, we're going to take what we're known for, that classic JRPG-style turn-based combat where you got to think about what you're doing, so it's not just like, you know, hit the attack button over and over and then press triangle for a combo. It's, am I going to use the spell? And, you know, whose turn is next? That element of strategy, I think, is missing in Final Fantasy. I'm not going to say it's missing in 15 because, you know, the magic is a totally different thing in 15. But
No.
I don't want it to continue how it is now. I want there to be some form of innovation like what Persona 5 did. Because it doesn't even... Honestly, Persona 5 doesn't even feel like... It is turn-based, but it doesn't feel like...
It doesn't feel like a classic old-style turn-based game.
Exactly. Even World of Final Fantasy... I think sorry. No. Just quickly, when you could switch between, you know, classic turn-based, active time battle, or, you know, the new version where you just click the buttons, even that is better. But that's all I was going to say. Go ahead.
Okay, I think Final Fantasy does, Square Enix did a great job of like doing turn-based games and also doing the action style of Final Fantasy 15. And like that style that 13 has, it's kind of like turn-based, but it's also just like you can attack when you want to. I think they do a good job of separating, you know, putting out games that have both of those elements. But you're right. I would like to see I want to see Final Fantasy 16 have like turn-based combat. Like, that would be really cool. Like having a game like Persona 5 come out, be really successful. I think Final Fantasy can also do that too and have a successful title. I just feel like they think that they won't have a huge selling game if they do turn-based style, but as a Persona 5, I'm like, why not? People like that stuff. So, I mean, they can make a big, you know, even like just like Final Fantasy X, just a game like that even. But it's like a bigger world and maybe more streamlined turn-based, like not really having a whole sequence going into battle, like you battle enemies in the field, kind of like a Chrono Trigger or something. But yeah, I would love to see like Final Fantasy 16 have like a huge, beautiful new world of like a turn-based system. That'll be awesome.
Me too. That's exactly what I'm hoping.
But I think there's. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it's nice to have both once in a while.
Yeah.
Because you do like going back to the turn-based every once in a while.
Exactly. And since we have 15 and the remake of 7 coming up, I don't understand why 16 couldn't be that. Not that it won't be. Yeah. I mean, we don't know. But
yeah, it could be. Probably not.
Look at Final Fantasy X. That style of turn-based combat. Then look at 12, which was still turn-based, but completely different. It was much more like MMO
that was more
style.
Like an MMORPG. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I did not like.
And then look at... But it's different. And then look at 13. 13 is another type of active time battle, turn-based JRPG, and it's still innovation. It's still a different type of doing that. So for me, what Final Fantasy represents is taking the old and innovating it. So what I would have assumed was that Persona-style combat would have been the next Final Fantasy game based on their history. So I'm just hoping that it's not going to be a bunch of rehashes of Kingdom Hearts style combat, because I think it works for Kingdom Hearts, because I think that's the game that Kingdom Hearts is.
Yeah, I haven't realized that every single main entry has had a different battle style. Since at least 9, which is really cool.
Yeah. From 10 onwards,
10 was different, 12 was different, 13 was different, and 15 was different.
The remake of 7 is looking the same.
Yeah,
pretty much. There is one thing I'm that's interesting about the Final Fantasy series, though. So as far as 16, let me just say first off for 16 that I think they will go back to kind of like a turn-based one, more along the lines of kind of like what they did for 13. And I'm not saying exactly that. I'm saying, like you're saying, Jarrell, like innovation, where it's like they take the general roots of like turn-based combat, and then just kind of like do some new way to build off it. 15, I think was more so because it originally was Verse 13, which is an entirely different like spin-off game, and maybe that's just why. Maybe that's the only reason why it ended up being an action RPG. For all we know, that could be just like an anomaly, and then 16 they're just really planning like a new combat system. But aside from all that, Final Fantasy has a weird distinction of having all these different spin-off games, and each different spin-off game has like their own like way of like they want to do things. You take this is not a Final Fantasy spin-off necessarily, but it's made by Square, so worth mentioning. I Am Setsuna is definitely more of a traditional RPG, like the turn-based and everything. And then, of course, Kingdom Hearts could be considered a Final Fantasy spin-off, well, which we discussed that already. It's action RPG. So as far as 16, I think it's probably going forward, I think we can expect more like advanced turn-based, whatever that may mean. I'm actually more interested in seeing what they do with their spin-offs, because the spin-offs vary wildly in quality. Some are fantastic, some are terrible. But, like, yeah.
I also want to... Oh, go ahead.
No, that was pretty much finished, yeah.
I also want more cohesive stories. I was not happy with the false ending of World of Final Fantasy. Very disappointed, Square. I was done. Not happy with that. Not happy with the complaints that I've heard about 15, where, the story is technically cohesive, but to understand the whole thing, you've got to play the demo. You've got to play the other demo. You've got to watch the movie.
Yeah, really, it's a lot.
Yeah,
I really don't even know what happened. Like, I don't.
Oh God. Play the whole game.
The DLC and this DLC just came out for one of the characters, and I'm like, I haven't had interest in playing it or downloading it. I don't know. It's just like the story, like the characters are what makes the game cool. Like the camaraderie between those four guys, like Noctis and Gladio and Ignis and Prompto. They're all really cool and different, and they're really fun together with their back talking and just a relationship with each other. But there's the overarching story and everything going on in the world is just not. It's not. Wasn't that important to me. Like, I could care less about. Kind of like Zelda, where I was like, I didn't care what was happening with Ganon and Zelda. I just kind of want to play the game. You're having fun with doing the side quests, even though they're kind of like stupid. But the whole game, the combat was just really fun. Like, I looked for enemies to fight. Like, I was excited to try new things in combat, excited to try new items, using new weapons. That was what the game was about for me, just exploring and visiting towns and stuff. But the overarching story was just kind of a mess to me.
Hey, not only does it have all of that, it also has an anime for each character, just in case.
Yeah, which I watched too, and Kingsway.
Yeah,
and
I love that miniseries.
Yeah, Brotherhood.
It just seems like there's so much, and not all of it ties together into a proper story. So I would love to see more cohesion, and I would love to see more innovation, combat-wise. That's all.
I think they just tried a little bit too hard to. They tried a little bit too hard to like make this huge world, Final Fantasy 15, and I think they just like blew it way out of like proportion to what it is. Instead of just making a nice little solid experience, you know what I mean? They have to make the game. Then they have to make a movie and an anime and a side game and a mobile, like all this downloadable game and DLC, and like they had just
Don't forget multiplayer's coming.
Oh no.
I actually want to play that.
That's a solid no.
No.
I'm excited for that. And you're like, no.
Justice Monsters 5.
Case closed.
Yeah.
But finally,
but it was my game of 2016. If that says anything. It was a really fun game, but it was very forgettable, to be honest.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah.
But anyway, here's one we've all played. Pokemon!
Woo! My game of 2016.
Oh, it was. So, since we're continuing on with the topic, we've all played Sun and Moon. Where do you think Pokemon can go from there?
Put away the boxes!
Wait, are we recording now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, the fact that the flipping characters, they don't move, like, they have to move, like, in blocks. They have to look at them, they can't move fluidly.
seen the animations.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like they have to stand forward or left or behind or right. They can't. So that if they're running off, it's like supposed to be really dramatic, but they're facing the wrong way. So you have to wait for 5 seconds while you see them stop, turn around.
I mean, I think that's just a limitation of the 3DS, maybe. But
no, it's not.
No, you're right. Because there have been other games
that's like the only game in this day and age that does this.
Yeah.
I'm shooting one down. No, but
my biggest problem with Pokemon Sun and Moon is the goddamn hand-holding bullshit from Professor Kukui. The
like
entire game. I get it. Not everyone has played Pokemon 5,000 times like us old people who are in our 20s and have been playing Pokemon since it first came out. I get it. But I don't need an hour-long introduction to this is Pokemon, and you don't even have a Pokemon yet. But we're going to talk about Pokemon like you have a Pokemon, so that way you can go and get a Pokemon from the goddamn Island Kahuna that gives you a Pokemon that you want. Oh, and by the way, you still don't get to fight with your fucking Pokemon yet, because then we got to introduce you to your Pokemon accepting you into its life. Like, no!
That's so funny. That is all true.
Something was good, though.
There should at least be an option for newcomers and veterans.
That part was good. Like that scene where the Pokemon looks at you and then accepts you,
and you raise them up into the air like Simba from Lion King.
I agree with you, Grayson. I think going forward they should do some form of like, have you played this game already?
Like a checkbox. Like, have you played this game before? Yes. No.
Yeah,
and it should change like the first like at least an hour or two of the game.
Yeah,
like no like really slow animation of showing you how to catch a Pokemon. Like, oh, you have to hit it. Now you have to go to the option Pokeball setting. It's like click.
Well, and that's not even my problem.
Like annoying.
It's annoying, but it was just how much monologuing there was in this game. And I felt like so much of it was irrelevant and we didn't need to know, and it didn't have any sort of like importance to the story. It was just introducing you to all these characters that you're going to spend very little time with. In the end, you know, it took forever before you actually got to finally catch a Pokemon. I think I was 2 or 3 hours in before I finally got to catch a Pokemon.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
Also, the story, I feel like it built a lot on the story, but I just didn't care.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
The story wasn't that great, and it was like, it was all weird, and like, it was just, it wasn't that engaging story-wise.
Yeah.
I said that, and then you guys were like, keep playing. And then you finished it, and you realized I was right.
Easily.
Which one?
Black and White. Easily the best story.
Well, yeah. Oh, never mind. I'm biased towards X, but no, I think story-wise, you're right. It's definitely Black and White. That has the most interesting. But one of the things before we get too far off topic, because I felt bad for Jarrell. We kept talking about, oh my God, no, wait, Jarrell, the story gets so much better. And then like a week later, we'd be like, Jarrell, it doesn't get better. We fucking hate the game.
There's one good part. And then I pass it, and then you guys are like, nope.
It has some good parts.
It does have good parts, but it's not consistent, and I think that's the main issue. Is that there are parts that kind of suck you in, and then it pushes you back out to not caring. And I just want to train my Pokemon. Let me finish.
Like one character will say like one deep, meaningful sentence. You're like, wow, this is really deep. And they're just like, and they're like, okay, well that's over.
Well, that or it cuts your
I love how the Pokemon character just became a piano.
What's the girl's name? The girl with the yellow hair, long girl.
Lily.
Yeah, she has like really like
derp face.
She goes through like an actual character development towards the end of the game. But then like
I love her last.
But then it's at the end of the game, like literally the end, and there's not one like ounce of meaningful anything in the beginning of the game. So it's just like what happened there? I don't know.
Yeah, she's very much this like, oh no, protect me forever.
Yeah, it's just, I think that there was a lot of innovation when it comes to UI and when it comes to the Pokedex itself, but story-wise, I think this was one of the weakest ones because I just felt irritated anytime an NPC would come up and talk to me. Like, don't. You're going to take an hour of my time, and I'm just trying to fight people now.
You know what's funny? The post game had actually a really good story at there. There's like a post game sub quest involving the Ultra Beast and Looker. I actually really enjoyed it. It's one of the better post-game quests.
So let's talk about that, because I personally think that going forward, we should stop making things like Ultra Beasts that pop out of the universe and having Mega Stones that have to tie in with Z Crystals. But guess what? You don't even have all the Mega Stones because we're only giving you certain ones. And guess what else? We just got 4 more today, and you still got 100-something left over, Pokemon. And the game has been out for far too long. Give me all the Mega Stones, because now all we're doing is battling each other. Everybody's done with the game at this point. Yeah. It came out like last year sometime. Just give me my stuff now, and stop making more versions of what these Pokemon can be. I was satisfied with Mega Stones, and then I was confused with Ultra Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was really confused. I'm still confused. Like, my brother plays Pokemon. He shows me these Pokemon. I'm like, is that a legendary? I never even seen that Pokemon before.
Are they legendary?
I'm like, what is that? I'm like,
legendaries don't even mean anything.
They really don't.
Yeah.
Legendaries have lost
there's too many legendaries. Like, no, in my opinion.
They've lost their goodness and uniqueness, and these weird...
See, that's one of the reasons why I kind of like the Ultra Beast, though, because it was that feeling. It was like, wait, are these Pokemon? What, like, they had weird designs, granted, but they're like, I was wondering until release, like, are these actual Pokemon? Can I get these? Like, what are their roles in the game? What sucks, though, is that the Ultra Beasts don't really come to play into the post game, and that's partially why I was saying, yeah, that post game is real good, but why is it the post game that you finally introduced to these Ultra Beasts?
Well, because if it's not, then what's the point of having legendaries for each game?
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah.
I think that they're starting to lose.
I just would have liked to have
Exactly.
I just would have liked to know a little more about the Ultra Beast before we just get thrown to all of them in the post game.
They did.
True.
It is. It feels like it's just losing its meaning at this point. And I think that's why the story suffers as well, because a lot of it is just like, who cares at this point?
Oh, I do like what they did with the legendary, the title, Legendary Sun and Moon, like what they did, and I really don't want to spoil it if you haven't finished the game, but like it's interesting.
Well, it's been out for a year. Can I spoil it?
No,
it hasn't been out for a year.
It has not been out for a year.
Okay. Well,
it's September. Last September, right?
That's close enough.
It's kind of a big moment. It's kind of a big moment.
No, but I will say I do like some of the smaller moments where, just like with Lily admitting that she doesn't like Pokemon battles and stuff like that. Like, there are, like Brandon was saying, there's definitely those moments, but it just gets bogged down. And then now with all of these legendaries, I can't remember the exact, because again, this was people talking to me in Pokemon, and I was like, stop, because Professor Kukui drags me into these hour-long conversations about how fucking great he is in Pokemon are and all the moves that you'll learn from them.
Cousin. Woo!
Cousin.
And he still never puts a shirt on.
Yeah, still won't put a shirt on. He's in the fucking snowy mountains, and he won't put a shirt on.
On the top of the mountain, yeah, and I'm here building a Pokemon League. Woo!
Oh my god, no, don't do the woo. Stop it.
Woo.
Stop doing it, cousin.
But, there was all this lore behind these Pokemon, and I think that with Sun and Moon, again, I skipped past it, but I believe that it's that these Pokemon, the legendary in this game, is either the god of the sun or the god of the moon. But now I'm just getting lost to the point of like, wait, so there's a god of creation, and then there's Mew, who supposedly came before everyone else, and then there's this legendary that supposedly was this. And I think that between all of the legendaries, it's getting to a point where it's like, wait, am I supposed to be more excited about having a legendary or an Ultra Beast? Because an Ultra Beast is from a different universe.
And you know what else? So, it's not even just that. It's also the island Pokemon, the Tapu Lele and the Tapu whatever. There's so many.
There's like 5 or 6 of them, right?
There's supposed to be like special Pokemon too, right? So like, I'm just gonna have a team of legendary, special, kill everything Pokemon at this point.
It's too many.
Well, there's more than 6 once you do Ultra Beast and the island deities and the legendary. It's like I can't even have a team of my legendaries. I have to pick one.
I don't even know it's a legendary anymore. I'm like, I just miss when those like Moltres, Articuno, Zapdos, and Mewtwo. That's it. Yeah. Now there's like 20 legendaries in this game, probably more. I guess if you count Ultra Beast as legendary, but then you could catch more than one, can't you, in the game?
You can, yeah. Well, some of them you can, some of them you cannot.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, some of them are
then,
version exclusive. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
exactly.
very weird.
I think they did. Speaking of
Too
all
many.
madness, what I think they did well in what they reinvented with the gameplay of kind of shaking up the league and the gyms. It was good having the islands and the Hawaiian setting. Actually, I found really good. I thought it was good in that sense of the game.
I was gonna speak on things that I liked as well. Go ahead.
Before we shit on it.
Yeah, before we obliterate Pokemon completely. But yeah, it has generally got a bit stale, and the Pokemon design is awful, and the Alolan version, especially of it,
Yes.
all. What the hell? It doesn't even fit on the screen.
No.
Just ridiculous.
So stupid.
The only one
Executor? Nah. I'm defending Executor. I love how dumb it looks.
He's cool.
No.
He
I
looks cool.
love Executor.
I like some of them. Like, I like the Golem, because he's got little funny eyebrows.
No.
No, not Golem. I mean Geodude.
Still no.
And I like Diglett, because he's got a little wig on.
No.
He just,
wig.
like, he doesn't look good. They just look stupid, but funny.
Yeah.
No. I'm just offended.
And yeah, I did enjoy the old Hawaiian theme, and I liked going around the little islands, and it was definitely the out of the whole series now since it started, that was the most shaken up they've done since.
Yeah, it was.
Since Black, was it X and Y or Black and White first?
Oh wow,
Black and White was first.
Black and
So since Black, so I remember that was the first one where they'd gone all 3D and they'd got different perspectives of the cities, whereas now it's just the norm. But yeah, this was a good shake up of the gameplay. It's not a great shake up of the story.
Positive shake-ups. I personally did not. I'm still a little iffy on the trial stuff because it was just confusing to me because that second island, you do like 6 trials.
Confusing.
And you never move on. I was like, how many more people am I going to beat before I get to the next island?
Yeah, I never really understood. I feel like each island had a different amount of trials. And it was like, you need to finish the trial. And then it's like, oh, I'm not done? No, you have to fight this Kahuna. I'm like, okay.
Yes, and then
and
it's
then
like,
you
first you have to beat this trial. I'm like,
until you beat them.
Well, and then when you go to the last island too, it's like there's not a Kahuna here, and you get there and you're like, what the fuck?
You're like,
island is just completely uncharted for the most part.
Yeah, it's like there's 3 people who live on this island, and then a bunch of trainers. Go
and
for it.
And they kept the Elite Four the same, which is weird too. I'm like,
so for the positives, like I was saying, because like we just shit on it some more.
We all went back to being negative.
Yes. I loved a lot of the non-combat Pokemon stuff. So, Pokemon Refresh, the fact that now your Pokemon aren't going to die when you're running to the PC. That was so much better than
Pokemon to me from X and Y.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Pokepelago, where you can grab your beans, you can make your Pokemon love you more, you can train with them, all that stuff, wonderful. I love all of it. I do still miss the mini games, the specific mini games from the last one, not the last one, the one before that. But I do love the innovations for that. I thought that was great.
They can never get rid of that now. They have to keep that in.
Yeah,
I cannot. I mean, remakes are one thing, but they cannot do a new Pokemon game without something like that. That's too game-changing. That is too much of a quality improvement to, let that go.
Well, and especially if your Pokemon gets poisoned, before it'd be like, oh my god, I can't run back to the Pokemon Center because my Pokemon's going to die.
Yeah.
But
Okay, now
you
say
can
regardless
handle
if
this.
you do a remake or not, that just needs to be there.
Yeah.
That needs to never go.
Well, it is gone, though. You can just rub the poison away.
That's what I'm saying. That needs to just never go.
Yeah, it never needs to leave.
The ability to do that needs to just never go in future games.
And I really enjoy the online features. This is the first Pokemon game where I've actually spent a lot of time online, trading Pokemon in the GTS and Wonder Trade systems. And I know that not everyone loves the Festival Plaza, but I really do. I think it's kind of an interesting way to incentivize you to go online and interact with people. Because before I was like, I'm just going to trade Pokemon and I have all the Pokemon I want. So no.
And I think the global missions are fun too. Just, participating in them with people. That's great as well. Festival Plaza, I think, needs work going forward because I am not going to get rid of my 3-star restaurant for a 1-star restaurant, and I don't know why you're suggesting that to me. That makes no sense. I'm still confused as to how you decide what your friends want in the Festival Plaza. So they're like, oh, can you tell me what I would like? I have no fucking idea what you would like. I don't even know what I would like. I don't even know what's here.
Take me to someplace you think I'd like. What do you like?
Exactly. So I
do
think
you like
no
this
guessing.
shop? What?
Going forward, I would love if they took out all the unnecessary, basically, and focused on, I don't want Z-Stones outside of Alola. You've given me Megastones, you gotta leave them. I don't want Ultra Beasts outside of Alola. I don't need more than 2 legendaries for each game. Scale it back. All the unnecessary, I think it's bloated at this point, because everything we mentioned is all in Pokemon, and this is one game. All that shit is in one game.
Just in Sun or Moon. It's not like, hey, this is the entire history of Pokemon. No.
Exactly, this is literally just one game. So I think going and getting rid of all the extra, focusing on the Pokemon, either doing Z moves or continuing with Megastones. I don't think we need both. Deciding how to distribute Pokemon with Pokemon Bank. And then, with Megastones, having these things done before the game is out, I think, and giving us a better story are all things that Pokemon needs to work on going forward.
I agree.
They're so stubborn, like the developers. They just don't want to change anything.
It's because they know that even no matter what they do now,
they know changing one little thing will make that game sell so much.
Yeah. And there's always
units. It's like, let's make this game, maybe a little more mature. Like they won't.
But see, that's the strange thing. They did change a lot for this one, and they did make a mature story before, and it was great.
Yeah. But I mean mature as in like an actual like maybe your main character talks like it's actual story, no?
Yeah. Well, I could see why they wouldn't do that just because that's the standard, but I think it's kind of weird to go from having a game like Pokemon Black or White that does have a really interesting story and really has you look at Pokemon in a different way. And then even though, again, I have to admit that X probably doesn't have the best story in the world, it's still enjoyable. I still liked playing it. I still liked finding out what was going to happen next. But with Sun, it really did become like a pulling teeth feeling whenever I would see Kukui. I was like, I'm saving the game and I'm turning it off because I'm not dealing with him right now. I'm not talking to him. I'm not letting him see me. I know everything I need to know. Thank you, Professor. But yeah, I just think that story needs to be their main focus. I think we've got a lot of the innovations that we needed. A more improved Pokedex, the more improved Pokemon Refresh, the more improved daycare system where now they don't train you, they just breed, and then you can choose to train Pokemon outside of that in Pokemon Play.
Thank you.
And then I'm trying to think. There's definitely good things, but I feel like most of the innovations were more of the technical things. Getting rid of you having to learn fly, getting rid of you having to learn.
That was the best.
That was really good.
Also, never go away. That.
Mm-hmm. But I agree with Jarrell in that I think Megastones are fine, but we don't need it with Z moves, and we don't need it with this or with that going forward. Whatever may have replaced it in a future game. I would like us to either stick with Megastones or stick with Z moves now, or just, okay, those were things that you could only do in those 2 games, and now we're just back to normal Pokemon.
I hear you, and I partially agree. That's never going to happen, though, only because Pokemon has a huge competitive scene, and for them to drop anything that game-changing would cause a stir like that we can't even imagine.
Plus, they're already selling Z-Rings to all the kids.
I kind of want a Z-Ring. Those things look cool.
Yeah, and even if it's just like, okay, we stop at Megastones and we stop at Z-moves and don't add anything else except for in the next game more characters will get them, obviously, but not adding a whole other component to. And now you confuse Pokemon. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's fucking duel with Pokemon, bitches.
Yes.
But yeah,
That's what I've always wanted. Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh to just become one.
no, I would not be able
Hey,
to
if you want your story to be more mature, they could just straight up rip off the Yu-Gi-Oh storyline because that shit gets dark sometimes.
It did get dark. There were so many moments.
I ain't talking about that 4Kids anime stuff. Now I'm talking about straight up either the original Japanese or the straight up manga where Bandiki just shot himself in the head.
Oh my gosh! I didn't watch all that. What is wrong with you? Like, no one shot themselves in the head on 4Kids TV.
Shadow Realm? Nah. He shot himself in the head. He gone. That happened for him. I was like, oh my god! I read that as when I was 13. I was like, oh.
Well, I think that pretty much sums us up for what we think some of these titles can do in the future moving forward. We talked about what we think Zelda should do now that some people feel that it's reached its peak and can continue to grow, of course, but needs to be very careful in how they do so. Persona 5 is just, or Persona in general is just always perfect, so they don't need to do anything different. It's A++. Will play it for the rest of my life. Love it. Yes. Final Fantasy run into some combat and story problems, but for the most part still in good shape. And then Pokemon, please, for the love of God, stop holding my hand and just let me play the game.
Let me go.
Let me be free. But thank you so much for listening to this episode of WTF Gamers Cast, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.